guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. It's from a guy, he's 37 years old, he's a bachelor, seems like he does very well for himself. He's not rich, but definitely very comfortable, has some nice things, house, the cool toys, that type of thing. And he's going to share his story about his really great relationship he has with his best friend. And this whole story is about how the importance of having a very close guy friend or a couple guy friends, how obviously, as the saying goes, bros before you know what, that type of thing. And it's going into this whole thing about how this guy and him have been best friends since they were like 16 years old. They've both been there for each other during tough times. And when this guy who's telling the tale got married at a very early age, and it was a mistake, that guy was there for him. And you're going to see in this story how his buddy makes this kind of the same mistake he does, and this guy's for him. And even this guy's girl tries to come between them, but the guy writing the story, no way any woman is going to come between their good friendship. So I'm doing this, guys, as I think it's really important, as I've mentioned this before, how it's so important to have your close guy friends. You can't replace them. They're worth gold. No joke, you know? And it's far better, even if you only have one or two, that's better than having 50 so friends, you know? And I always talk about how, in my opinion, the order of importance in life should be your purpose, your goals and your ambitions, number one, then your health, the gym, fitness, diet, all that, then your bros. Okay, your close circle of guy friends. And then, of course, your dog and your cat, and then your family members, and then obviously women at the very bottom. So I'm going to go through this guy's story. It's a really good one, and just again to show you how important it is to having the close bros in your life, and how this guy, you know, you're going to see here what happens with his buddy's girl comes on to him and everything, and he's like, ain't happening. And he handles it perfectly. So it starts off, he says, hello, SSM. After watching some of your videos, there was one that made me want to share my own story. Well, it's partially my story and partially the story of my best friend. If I had to articulate the message, it would be this. If you find someone in your life that is a true friend, be there for them. Even if their decisions aren't the best, a real friend is such a hard thing to find. When you do find one, do everything you can to keep them. They are more valuable than gold. Absolutely. And it is not every day that a great friend comes into your life. It could be once every 10 years or something like that. No kidding. My best friend, who I'll call Sam, and I met when I was 16 years old. We went to school together and became the best of friends. We shared everything with each other like the best of friends tend to do. I didn't have the best childhood, and that led me to meeting Sam. I'm 37 years old at the moment, but I was 6 years old when my mom and me lost my dad. He was an infantryman in the Army during the Gulf War. I don't remember a lot of the details at that time in my life, but losing Dad was hard for my mom. I remember how broken up she was during that period of my life. One thing I remember clearly was that she never brought another man into our home. I think she might have dated after that, but if she did, I was never aware of it. Our life over the next 10 years seemed to find it kind of normal, and she never let a day go by where she didn't tell me in so many different ways how important I was to her. There was never a doubt in my mind that I was loved without condition. I loved my mom. Dude, that's awesome. I mean, I'm really sorry about your dad. That's terrible, you know. But that's great that your mom she did the best she could, and sounded like she wasn't one of those wacko single moms out there. She tried really hard and was really good to you, you know. He says here, it was a few months after my 16th birthday that I lost my mom. She worked 2 jobs to make sure that I was going to have the best chances for success. It was when she was coming home from her second shift job when my life was changed. A drunk driver crossed the median on the road and the car hit her head on. They told me that due to the vehicle's speed that she likely died on impact. To this day, I'm still furious about the situation, and not only because I lost my mom, the driver that hit her had 4 previous DUIs and still had a license. What the hell? 4 DUIs and had a license? What kind of fucking idiot liberal judge or whatever allowed that to happen? Right? That guy should have been behind bars a long time ago. He's probably from a blue state. If it wasn't bad enough that my mom was killed, the a-hole survived and ended up in prison for homicide. He'll be eligible for parole in 3 years. There is no real justice in the world. Well, I'm glad he's been behind bars for 20 years, and he'll in still another 3 years. But that is terrible. That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. But listen to this, guys. Listen to what also happens around this time when obviously he feels like his whole life is over. He says, anyway, It was after we lost Mom that I ended up moving into my grandparents' home and they finished raising me. That was a time in my life when I met Sam. As you can imagine, I was pretty screwed up at that point in my life. It was Sam that helped me come out of the darkness that had taken over my life. By the time we graduated high school, we were more like brothers than friends. His parents even called me son. I love them all more than I could express in words. That's awesome that you met him. And interesting that you met him exactly in a time in your life when you needed him the most. It's amazing how life can work out that way. And I think that's really cool that not only was he became a brother to you, but also his family took you in as well. And they were like parents to you. That's great. That exactly when you needed it. It's always amazing how these things work out in life. He says, I was 22 years old when I made the biggest mistake of my life. Can you guys guess what he's about to say next? I got married to a girl I've been seeing for only a couple of years. Smack. 22 years old and you only knew her for 2 years and you got married. Now I gotta wonder if you married her at that early age because obviously, and no offense, because your parents passed away at an early age, maybe you were eager to start a new family or something like that. That tends to happen with some guys. He says, I was young and dumb and paid for it. We've only been married for a year and a half where I found out that she was cheating on me with one of her coworkers. Thankfully, we didn't have kids together or a lot of property. I was in a pretty bad way after our divorce, and it was Sam that came to my rescue and helped me get back to living. That's awesome, man. He told me before I married B that he didn't have a good feeling about her, but I was in love and ignored him. He never said anything negative about her while we were married, and after the divorce, he never mentioned anything. There was no I told you so. He was there for me as a friend and a brother. That's great that he didn't like rub it in or any I told you so's or anything like that. That's not cool, you know? And I mean, a good friend will certainly say things to you like, listen, you got to understand something about this girl or something like that. But afterwards, what's done is done. Like you married her, so obviously he wasn't going to talk bad about her. And when it didn't work out, he was there to help you pick up the pieces. That's what a bro does. He says, fast forward to a few years ago, I was 35 at the time and Sam was dating a lady. I use that term loosely and was falling pretty hard for her. There are other words I'd like to call her, but for the sake of the story, we will call her Debbie. I reminded him of my own experiences with marriage, but he was sure that she was the one. I don't know what it was about her initially that gave me bad vibes, but I learned over the years to trust my gut. Amen, brother. I tell you guys that every day. Trust your gut. If something seems off, listen to it. And at least listen to your gut and do a little investigating. No harm, no foul. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're right, then, hey, you're going to be really happy to listen to your gut. It didn't matter. It was his life, and I was going to be there for him no matter what. They ended up dating a little more than a year and a half when he told me that he had asked her to marry him. I did my best to be happy for him and not tell him I thought he was making a mistake. I did ask him if he was sure, and he told me he was. I still have my reservations about her. Well, that's one area that I disagree. No offense. I would actually have said something. Not trashing her, but just, hey, bro, I've been down this road before, and you were there for me. I'm getting the same kind of vibes that you had back when I was young and married that chick at 22 years old. That's what I would say. At least wait a while or something like that. I get you don't want to, diss your friend, but also sometimes, obviously the story goes, a friend's going to say something sometimes they don't want to hear. He says, in my own life, I've been pretty successful in my career. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I have my own house and many of the toys that make me happy. I especially like my Corvette. Sam does pretty well for himself, but I could see he was spending a lot of money on Debbie. It was almost like he was spending money on her to try to make her happy, and while I didn't directly comment on it with him, I did mention a few times that it's not a good idea to try to buy a woman's affection. Yes, 100%. Guys, she better like you as is, because if you think that you're going to, just by buying her this and buying her that's gold digger alert. If she's only with you for that and asking about how much money you make and little ways to try to get you to reveal your income and what you have and get you to buy this and buy that, and she's not doing anything for you, that's gold digger alert. Okay? And this is what a lot of guys do. They get older and they see that hot girl and they think she's the one, and they got to essentially bribe her to be with them. Never works out well. He says, I was having a pool party one night at my house and had Sam and Debbie and a bunch of my friends over for a fun evening. I'm not a Chad, but I'm a happy bachelor. I have a few women that enjoy spending time with me that understand there's no chance of a commitment for me. I'm not exclusive with any of them, and they're all okay with our arrangement. Perfect, bro. You make it abundantly clear. Look, nothing's going to happen, and I think that's good that you do that on multiple fronts. You let them know from the get-go what to expect, and that way then they can't be freaking out and starting a bunch of drama saying that you made them think one thing, but you're something else. Now, some might, but you get my point. And that way then if you're out dating another girl and she runs into you, it's not like she's going to be like, and throw a tantrum because you made it clear you date other people. And not to mention the fact that because you said don't expect a commitment, the likely is some of them are going to think, oh, well, I can change his mind. And therefore they're going to work harder and be on their best behavior, which is only in your benefit, to try to get you. That's usually how it works. Anyhow, he says, that night we're all at the pool dancing and drinking. It was a fun evening. Everyone was having a lot of fun. I was spending a lot of time at my grill cooking and wandering around talking to my guests. At one point, I was at the grill and I felt someone brush up against my butt. When I turned around, Debbie was smiling at me and apologized for bumping into me. What a load of crap. She did that on purpose, just to see how you'd respond. I accepted it was just an accident and told her not to worry about it. She ended up talking to me and Sam for about 15 minutes before wandering off to find him. It was later on that evening when we were all dancing when my doubts that her previous accident was an accident. Debbie had found her way over to me again and tried to grind her ass on me. There you go. You gave her the benefit of the extreme doubt the first time, and there she's back, shaking that ass and grinding up against you. So your gut feeling about her character was dead on. This is why I suggested a few minutes ago you should have said something to your bro. He says, I was about to push her away when she grabbed my junk and smiled at me. Holy crap. She's bold. She's probably so good looking and so used to guys throwing themselves at her or things like that. I mean, this goes to show you the piece of shit she is. You're his best friend for 20 years. And obviously she knows this. And she's coming on to you. That says everything about her character. I was pissed. I slapped her hand off and told her to get her damn hands off me, and then immediately went to find Sam. He was sitting in the pool talking to one of our friends, and I asked him to see him for a minute. By the time he got out of the pool, Debbie was standing beside us. Yeah, she's chasing you down to make sure she can protect her meal ticket. I ignored her and told him what she did, and she started saying it was a misunderstanding and that I was just trying to cause problems in their relationship. How is her walking up, pointing her ass in your direction and grinding her ass against your package, and then her turning around and grabbing your junk a misunderstanding? I mean, someone explain this to me. I would love to say that my brother, my best friend, took my word and tossed her out of life, but he didn't. He was so far into the fog of love that he tried to convince me that it was just a misunderstanding. Oh, man. I told him that if that was his position, I didn't want Debbie back over my house, and he got angry. They left together shortly after that. I never wanted to hurt my friend, but there was no way I could let that what Debbie did pass without telling him. That was the last night that I saw Sam for almost 4 months. Good for you for doing what you felt was right. And not to mention, this is your damn house, and you do what you want in your house. And if somebody disrespects you, like she did, you call them on it and tell her to get her ass out of there. So I'm not exactly sure what was going on in his life during that time. The next time I saw him, when he came over to my house a little more than 4 months after the pool party. I was a little surprised to see him on my porch, but I invited him in. He spent the next hour telling me that he broke up with Debbie after he wait for it, caught her cheating on him with her previous boyfriend. I could tell he was pretty torn up about everything, but I had been there myself. I never mentioned Debbie or what happened between us before. There was no need. He had been staying with Debbie at her apartment and didn't really have anywhere else to go, so I let him stay in my guest room for as long as he needed. Wait a second. There's a big mistake there. He was staying at her apartment, had nowhere else to go. Translation, he moved in with her on her turf. That's a bad idea. I always tell you guys, you never move in with your girl unless you absolutely intend to marry her, which, you know my feelings on marriage, but if you can do it anyway. And if you do it, she either comes to move into your place, your turf, or you both pick out a place together. But you go into her turf, bad idea. Right here. And the fact that she's cheating on him with her ex-boyfriend means he definitely was her cash cow. That sucks. He goes on. He tried to thank me, but I waved it off and told him that he would do the same for me. There were no need for thanks needed. That was on a Tuesday. We spent most of the rest of the week talking about relationships and talking trash about the gals in general. I don't hate women, but I knew it was something he needed to get out of his system. By the end of the week, my friend was starting to sound like the guy I used to know. I decided the best way to help my friend back in the world of the living was to have a little fun. I set up a party for the following Saturday and invited a bunch of friends, guys and girls, over. In all, there were about 20 people that showed up, and it was a great night. Sam spent the first hour or so just drinking and sitting on the couch by himself. I talked to a few of my friends and explained the situation that he was in, and they told me not to worry about Sam. Now, before anyone tries to claim that I'm some kind of pimp, I'm not. My female friends are perfectly capable of making their own decisions. All I asked them to do was go talk to him and try to give him an ego boost. Nothing wrong with that. You know, Sam's having a tough time right now. You know, he's a little withdrawn on the couch with his Corona. Why don't you go over there chit-chat with him? It'll definitely help him out. No big deal. Well, it turned out to be a great night. Sam and one of my friends seemed to have a lot in common and end up having a fun time dancing and talking. Well, I'm sure they were doing more than dancing and talking. It wasn't until I saw her leaving the house and the smile on my brother's face the next morning that I understood just how good of a night he had. You're a good friend. We were talking about our evenings at breakfast, and he got really quiet for a few minutes before looking at me with a serious expression. He asked me, "Why haven't you said anything about Debbie when you tried to warn me?" I told him the truth. There was no need to say anything. He was there for me, and I was there for him. There are a million Debbies in the world, but there are very few people you'll meet in life that you can call a real brother. Yes, 100%, man. So that's the story of me and my best friend. A friend will be there for you at your best. A real friend will be there at your worst. Thanks for your work you do. To all the guys out there, never let a woman come between you and a real friend. Good luck to all. Dude, that's an awesome story, man, and I'm really happy to hear that you guys have been bros for 20 years after all what you've been through. And I still think it's amazing that he came into the picture after you were just at the worst low point of your life. And that is great that he was there for you, you're there for him, and probably as tempting as it was, you didn't rub it in, but I'm guessing it probably wasn't even tempting at all. But that sucks what happened to him, but he obviously learned, and now he can start over. End of story. So guys, this is why I did this story, to show you a perfect example. The bros got to stick together. How valuable it is to have that one or two or three, if you're lucky, close guy friends you can absolutely trust that got your back no matter what. And look how that girl put the moves on him. A lot of guys probably would have went for it. That's the sad part. How many stories have I done where people write in, or crazy stories I come across online where the guy finds out that his best friend or his brother or a cousin was cheating on his girl? I mean, it's terrible, but guys do that. So I'm really glad to hear in this situation how this worked out. As an example, how important it is to have your close bros. Remember, your purpose first, then your health and fitness, then your bros. Then, of course, the cat or the dog, family, then chicks at the very bottom. So you can't replace them. They're just like gold. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys, if you have a close group of bros you have. Let me know that dynamic, how it works, and so on and so forth. It's very important. Be sure to mention that. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.